To some, he's one of the greatest managers of the past 2 decades, a man who has sacrificed style for substance, flair for control. To others, he is a harsh taskmaster who can alienate even the most gifted players. But whatever side you take, one thing is clear: Louis van Gaal knows how to build great teams. And nowhere was that clearer than at Ajax in the 1990s, when a golden generation of homegrown talent, guided by his methods, rose to conquer Europe and etched their name into football folklore. This is the story of Ajax, the Louis van Gaal years.
Breed om lachen. Und Tor! Greifvorstellung. Kaiser und Tor! Für Bier. Three away on the left. Curling it instead towards Rep on the far side. A goal for Ajax!
From their first triumph in 1971 to the unforgettable nights of 72 and 73, Ajax didn't just win trophies. They changed the way football was played. Amsterdam has given the world so much. Pioneer trade and science, the world's first stock exchange, Heineken and Amstel, a city shaped by innovation, and football was part of that story. When you think of Dutch football, you think of total football. The two are inseparable, pressing high, interchanging positions, attacking fullbacks, creativity and intelligence, every player in service of the team. In 1965, Rinus Michels arrived at Ajax, a man of discipline and structure. He laid the foundations for this philosophy. But after the club's first European Cup triumph, Michels departed and Stefan Kovac stepped in. He gave Ajax bohemian Amsterdam stars more freedom, and under his guidance they took total football to new heights. Across the country, Ernest Happel's Feyenoord side were already European champions in '70. Dutch football had found its rhythm. But the brilliance of Ajax didn't just stay confined to Amsterdam. Their ideas spread to the national team, captivating the world at the '74 World Cup under Johan Cruyff's leadership. 4 years later, they returned to another final. Dutch football had arrived on the global stage. But glory is never constant. Dutch clubs endured a quiet first half of the '80s before reclaiming European prominence. In 1987, Ajax, now managed by Johan Cruyff, lifted the European Cup Winners' Cup, capping back-to-back Dutch Cups wins in '86 and '87. The total football icon gave his players creative freedom, but tensions simmered over transfer policies, squad decisions and his push for more control, clashing with the board. His tenure unravelled in '88 amid chaos, including the departure of the two crown jewels. In '87 saw Frank Rijkaard storm out after clashing with Cruyff, joining Sporting Lisbon before Zaragoza loan. Also that summer, Marco van Basten departed for AC Milan. A core frustration for Cruyff, Ajax wasn't Dutch football's powerhouse. Ronald Koeman's '86 exit to PSV proved a game changer. PSV dominated with 4 straight Dutch league titles. In '88 marked PSV's zenith and Dutch football's golden year. They claimed the European Cup, beating Benfica on penalties. While the Dutch national team, with stars of Koeman, Gullit, Rijkaard and Van Basten, under manager Rinus Michels, were crowned European champions. Meanwhile, a young Dutch midfielder quietly wrapped up his playing days. Louis van Gaal. After stints in Belgium and a long career at Sparta Rotterdam, retired in 1987. His true legacy in Dutch football awaited off the pitch. The years following Cruyff's departure were turbulent. Multiple managers attempted to maintain Ajax's legacy, but all struggled. It was in this unstable environment that Louis van Gaal arrived as Ajax youth coordinator. Here, he became closely acquainted with the club's next generation, Clarence Seedorf, Edgar Davids. Even at a young age, their potential was unmistakable. Van Gaal later reflected in Ajax magazine, "It was very satisfying to train the youth team, because you receive so much appreciation and respect from those boys. It really would have been nice to continue, but I think that in this case, you don't get any further than being a youth coach. Ajax is the highest level you can reach. It's the best group you can train in the Netherlands." His work with the youngsters demonstrated his early managerial vision, meticulous preparation, fostering homegrown talent, integrating them into a disciplined, system-driven team. Meanwhile, in '89, Ajax hired Leo Beenhakker, who had once managed Ajax previously in the late 70s to early 80s, winning the Dutch league title. Then in the mid-80s, he won 3 successive La Liga titles with Real Madrid before his return to Ajax, where he broke the stranglehold Dutch football and PSV, winning the 89-90 Dutch league. In Beenhakker's second season, Ajax came second, failing to retain the title, losing out to Bobby Robson PSV. But this is the season that Dennis Bergkamp had his breakthrough. 25 league goals, joint top goalscorer with Romario, who had been top goalscorer the last 2 previous seasons. For the beginning of the 91-92 season, Ajax began the season in free scoring form, hitting 23 goals in their opening 7 matches. But by late September, Beenhakker had resigned, heading back to Real Madrid. Up stepped the untested Louis van Gaal, was unexpectedly named first team manager. Toon Harmsen, then president of Ajax. "Louis van Gaal is damn arrogant, and we like arrogant people here." Supporters protest, hoping for Johan Cruyff's return, while Van Gaal quietly assessed a squad filled with emerging stars: Wim Jonk, Aaron Winter, Danny Blind, Frank de Boer, John van Schip, Brian Roy and Dennis Bergkamp. His first major decision signalled an uncompromising approach. Jan Wouters, a winner with the national team in the Euro '88 and one of the most respected figures in Dutch football, found himself pushed aside. Wouters featured only 10 times before leaving for Bayern Munich. It was an early indication of Van Gaal's belief that reputation meant little if it did not align with his vision. Van Gaal's start as Ajax manager brought turbulence. As he introduced new structures and roles, the team's early rhythm collapsed. One of his big tests came early against PSV within the first month. Both Romario and Bergkamp scored. PSV came out winners 3-2, followed by defeats to Utrecht, Feyenoord and Vitesse. All within the first few months had supporters doubting him, and pundits claimed he was suffocating Ajax's attacking identity. Van Gaal rejected that view. Football is a team sport. Each player must carry out his basic tasks with discipline and focus. Gradually, the squad adapted. Bergkamp later said, "Van Gaal made us eager and ambitious. Every detail, shooting, passing, everything was tactical. Our game became enjoyable because we were united in how we played." But also that season marked the first team debut for a young star, Edgar Davids. Ajax finished the league just 3 points behind Bobby Robson's PSV yet again. Van Gaal's focus, however, was on Europe. Ajax eased through the first 3 rounds, winning home and away legs comfortably. In the quarterfinals, they faced Ghent. 0-0 draw away, followed by a 3-0 home victory. In the semi-finals, they faced off Italian side Genoa. The first leg in Italy, Ajax had the dream start. Pedersen after the first minute. Ajax doubled their lead in the 60th minute, Brian Roy making it 2-0. But Genoa fought back. 2 goals from Carlos Aguilera made it 2-2. But in the 89th minute, up step Aaron Winter, sealing a 3-2 win in Genoa. In the return leg, Genoa took the lead, but Dennis Bergkamp equalised. Game ended 1-1. Ajax, in Louis van Gaal's first season, are into the UEFA Cup final. They'll face against another Italian team, Torino, who knocked out Real Madrid in the semis. With players like Luca Marchigiani in goal, Enzo Schifo in midfield, Gianluigi Lentini and Casagrande up front. At the Stadio delle Alpi, Ajax took the lead. But Ajax held out for a 2-2 draw in the first leg. The second leg in Amsterdam ended 0-0 and Ajax had won the UEFA Cup, only the second team to win all 3 European trophies behind Juventus. With Ajax winning the European Cup 3 times in the early 70s, the Cup Winners' Cup in 87 and now the UEFA Cup with Louis van Gaal first season as Ajax manager. In that same season, Johan Cruyff and his Barcelona dream team won the European Cup. But these 2 Dutch coaches, Dutch football's defining figures, was fraught with personal and philosophical tension. Van Gaal's polarising image in Dutch football was shaped long before he took the Ajax job. Starting his career at Ajax as a young midfielder in the early 70s, Van Gaal lived in Cruyff's shadow. Unable to get first team football, he moved on. When both became coaches, old tensions resurfaced, and a famous incident in 1989 deepened the divide. At Cruyff's Christmas dinner in Barcelona, Van Gaal, invited, received news his sister had died and left immediately. Cruyff dismissed his explanation, calling their relationship bad chemistry. From then on, respect broke down. Van Gaal saw Cruyff as overbearing. Cruyff saw Van Gaal as rigid. Their football philosophies clashed completely. Van Gaal valued structure and execution. Cruyff valued intuition and individual brilliance. Johan wants players to improvise. I want them to execute. That is why we clash. Bergkamp put it more gently. Louis is didactic. The system is sacred. Johan, it's all instinct. Van Gaal has 1 or 2 screws loose. Later he said, Van Gaal has a good vision of football, but it's not mine. He wants to gel winning teams and has a militaristic way of working. I want individuals to think for themselves. The divide grew so deeply it eventually split Dutch football into 2 camps. 2 versions of total football speaking different dialects. As Van Gaal's second season began, he started to shape the squad according to his emerging vision. Significant changes followed. Aaron Winter was sold in a big money move to Lazio. Brian Roy departed after Van Gaal deemed him incompatible with the tactical system, and John Van Schip also left, both going to Italy. To reinforce the team, Ajax welcomed several key signings. Mark Overmars arrived, his directness and pace making him an ideal fit for Van Gaal's high-tempo system. Also, an unknown Finnish forward, Jari Litmanen, joined. During the season, Ronald de Boer returned to Ajax, reunited with his twin brother Frank after 18 months at Twente. While the Eredivisie campaign ended with a 3rd place finish, Ajax secured domestic silverware. Demolishing Heerenveen 6-2 in the Dutch Cup final. The season also marked the first team debut of Clarence Seedorf, alongside greater opportunities for Edgar Davids and Edwin van der Sar, highlighting Van Gaal's commitment to nurturing youth talent while reshaping the squad through strategic transfers. The summer of '93 brought more bold decisions from Van Gaal. Wim Jonk and Dennis Bergkamp both left for Inter Milan. Many questioned how Ajax could replace them. Van Gaal insisted he already had the answer, a little-known Finnish forward named Jari Litmanen. To most, the claims sounded delusional. To Van Gaal, it was part of a broader plan. His real masterstroke came elsewhere though. He convinced Frank Rijkaard to return from AC Milan. Rijkaard's experience and versatility, able to play at centre-back and in midfield, gave Van Gaal the tactical flexibility he had been building toward. He became the perfect guide for emerging Edgar Davids and Clarence Seedorf. Litmanen stepped into Bergkamp's role, offering movement, technique and the ability to link attacks. Vinini George, Nwankwo Kanu, Peter van Vossen and John van Brum arrived to strengthen depth and widen Ajax attacking options. The season showcased the evolution of his philosophy. Seedorf, Davids, Overmars grew into roles. Rijkaard, Danny Blind, the De Boer brothers brought balance and experience. The impact was immediate. Ajax won the '94 Eredivisie title, asserting domestic dominance. Litmanen finished as the league top goalscorer with 26 goals in 30 games, a remarkable validation of Van Gaal's faith. The 93-94 campaign confirmed Van Gaal's blueprint. We're now ready for the Champions League. The 1994-95 season began with a clear statement. Ajax opened by beating Feyenoord 3-0 in the Dutch Super Cup, and from that moment on they couldn't stop scoring. 18 goals in their first 6 league games. Their first major domestic test came away at PSV. A 4-1 win showed that although Ajax were defending champions, they were now operating at an even higher level. A 5-1 victory over Heerenveen, 4-1 win away at Willem. By the end of the calendar year, Ajax had scored 43 goals in 15 matches. In Europe, under the relatively new Champions League format, Ajax were placed in a group with Casino Salzburg, AEK Athens, and the reigning European champions AC Milan. The first group game was at home to Milan. A star-studded side with enormous pedigree, but Van Gaal didn't adjust to them, he made them adjust to Ajax.
Ronald de Boer. Kluivert. En daar is de kans. Ronald de Boer. En daar is de goal. En het is 1-0. Natuurlijk zeker niet voor Overmars. Goeie voorzet. En Liedmanen scoort.
The match finished 2-0 with goals from Ronald de Boer and Jari Liedmanen. A tough 2-1 win away at AEK Athens kept momentum going. But what followed were back-to-back draws against Salzburg, 0-0 away and 1-1 at home. But the opening win over Milan had been no fluke. In the return game in Italy, played not at the San Siro due to crowd trouble at Milan's previous European match, Ajax did it again. Another controlled performance, another 2-0 win. Liedmanen scoring and Baresi own goal added to it. European football's most dominant team hadn't scored a single goal against Van Gaal's Ajax. A final 2-0 win at home against AEK Athens confirmed Ajax as group winners. They entered 1995 exactly how they finished 1994, winning and scoring freely. This was also the season when another young star began to emerge. In his debut year, Patrick Kluivert was becoming the superstar that always seemed to score. Against PSV at home, he did it again.
Boer, Finidi, 1-1. Van het doel.
Over the next few months, the scorelines became almost surreal. An 8-0 win over Sparta Rotterdam, followed by a 7-0 win against Willem. Ajax were flying. Even a Dutch Cup quarter-final exit didn't interrupt their momentum in the league and Europe. In Europe, the quarter-final brought hijack split. A tense 0-0 away set up the return leg, where Ajax won 3-0 thanks to goals from Canu and a brace from Frank de Boer. That victory sent them into the semi-finals against German powerhouse Bayern Munich. Domestically, Ajax finished the league season in devastating fashion. 5-0 win away at Feyenoord, followed by a 3-1 win over Twente. Ajax ended their 34-game league campaign with 106 goals, an average of over 3 goals per match, and finished undefeated. 27 wins, 7 draws, 0 defeats. Liedmanen finished third in the scoring charts with 17 goals. Kluivert, in his debut season, finished second with 18. Only a young Brazilian named Ronaldo with 30 goals scored more. The Champions League semi-final, the first leg in Munich, ended in a tense 0-0. The return match in Amsterdam became one of the defining performances of Van Gaal's era. Ajax dismantled Bayern 5-2. It was football played with precision, confidence and structure. Youth elevated by a system that made perfect sense. That set up a final in Vienna. Ajax v AC Milan for the third time that season. The match was tight, defined more by tension than spectacle. Ajax waited patiently for the opening. In the 70th minute, Van Gaal made his move. Patrick Kluivert was subbed on. In the 85th minute, Rijkaard slipped the ball into the feet of 18-year-old substitute Patrick Kluivert. With 5 minutes left, the teenager had completed the ultimate footballing narrative. With an average age of just 23, Ajax became the youngest side ever to lift the European Cup. But immediately after the final, the first cracks in Van Gaal's project begin to appear. Cracks that hinted at what was coming. Vienna was Clarence Seedorf's last match for the club. With the Bosman ruling on the horizon and only a year left on his first professional contract, Ajax could not compete with the long-term, big money offerings beginning to reach their young stars. Seedorf departed to Sampdoria. Frank Rijkaard retired, ending his career on a perfect high. The 95-96 season still brought success. Ajax retained the league title for a third straight year, as well as winning the Intercontinental Cup in Japan against Camero on penalties. In February of 96, the UEFA Super Cup against Real Zaragoza. And in Europe, they continued to impress. In the group stage, they beat Real Madrid, home and away, 2-0 at the Bernabeu, and were applauded off the pitch. After the game, Jorge Valdano famously praised this Ajax team. Ajax are not just the team of the 90s, they are approaching football utopia. Their concept of the game is exquisite, yet they have a physical superiority as well. They are Beauty and the Beast. In the quarter-finals, they beat Borussia Dortmund home and away, but in the semi-finals they suffered a shock home defeat to Panathinaikos. In Greece, they overturned the loss with a 3-0 win, sending them into another Champions League final, this time in Rome against Juventus. Juventus, captained by Gianluca Vialli, Ravanelli, Conte and coached by Marcello Lippi, were formidable opponents. Final finished 1-1 after extra time. And Ajax lost the trophy on penalties. The underlying problem had become impossible to ignore. With such a young squad, most players were on their first professional contracts. Short, modest and easy for big clubs to outbid, with the Eredivisie offering none of the financial pull of the English, the Spanish or the Italian leagues. Ajax simply couldn't match the salaries available elsewhere. When the Bosman ruling came into effect, Ajax became its greatest victim. The 96-97 season ended in a whimper. Finini George left for Betis, Canu for Inter. Edgar Davids and Michael Reisinger joined AC Milan on free transfers. And Ajax finished fourth, and the dream was dissolving. Mark Overmars left for Arsenal at the end of the season, and more importantly, Louis van Gaal departed for Barcelona, a deal he had quietly agreed months earlier. He followed in Cruyff's footsteps, won La Liga twice, and continued to lift trophies across Europe for the rest of his career. Reisinger, Kluivert and the De Boer brothers would join him at various stages during his 3 years at Barca. But the Ajax Van Gaal project was already over. A team built on homegrown talent, shared principles and a unique collective intelligence had shone brilliantly. Only for the Bosman ruling and Europe's rising financial divide to tear it apart. The players scattered across the continent, almost all of them became household names, fixtures at Europe's biggest clubs, and symbols of the footballing generation they defined. Many still say this Ajax side was the true zenith of the modern game, that since then, clubs outside Europe's richest leagues have little chance of reaching the summit. Yet, for a brief moment, Ajax gave the world a glimpse of football utopia.